Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, and ooh boy, this is a little bit of an awkward review to do. Because yeah, if you haven't noticed, with have you noticed this first review of the One Piece manga is basically a pretty much day late because apparently the manga from One Piece and My Hero Academia decided to release early, a day early, like a little bit earlier than usual apparently. Um, but so yeah, so well, to kind of give you guys a little bit of a and to give you guys a little bit of background, the reason as to why this is the day late is because it's one of those damnedest things where when I hadn't realized that pretty much the manga had basically released until late at night yesterday. So at that point, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna tackle it like tomorrow on Sunday. Like just to kind of give you guys a bit of an idea of what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna be giving you guys this review of the One Piece manga and the One Piece anime today, and I'm gonna give you guys the My Hero Academia review tomorrow. Like that's kind of the best way I think in order for me to just get back on track with just getting caught off guard by this whole thing. But yeah, um, but with that said, let's talk One Piece chapter 992. So to start off, let's talk about Marco because I've seen a couple people already quick to turn on him or just kind of just say, "What the fuck are you doing, Marco?" Just for the fact that he made a deal with Big Mom, and and in general Marco just on his own seems to have his own agenda. But if I'm allowed to play devil's advocate for Marco here, I think the conversation with Big Mom reveals something entirely different than what we see on the surface with Marco, because while I'm not going to deny that he definitely still has his own agenda and reasons for taking down Kaido, I think his actions are more in line with the idea that as of right now, he's playing the long game and setting the stage in a way where when the time is right, he will strike Kaido alongside Luffy, but only when he knows that all the pieces are on the board in which he can pretty much make his play. And one bit of dialogue that caught my eye in this chapter that kind of supports my theory that Marco is playing the long game is when he said like pretty much Pops' voice no longer binds us. Everyone who's left is free. Now it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple dialogue on the surface, but the fact that pretty much that Oda had taken time in order to bold the word free, it free in that dialogue, that to me is says to me that Marco is alluding to the fact that Izo probably isn't going to be the only he and Izo probably aren't going to be the only former commanders to making an appearance on from during this whole battle, and that everything Marco's been doing up to this point is a plan set in motion by pretty much by pretty much by pretty much by pretty much a lot of the former commanders. I think we I think one thing we can expect going forward is that we can expect a return from a lot more than just from basically a lot more of Whitebeard's former commanders. Like I don't think Izo and Marco are going to be the only former commanders we're going to see. I think we're going to see a lot more now. Are we going to see all of them? I don't know, but I think we are going to see at least half, at least a good half maybe of the former Whitebeard commanders like pretty much returning in order to fight alongside Luffy. I think that's pretty much what basically Marco is kind of alluding to Big Mom there is that the Whitebeard commanders are on the move, and is that the former Whitebeard commanders are on the move, and that they're headed to Wano. I think that's kind of more the idea of what we're seeing here. And if that's the case, then I'm at this point. I'm like, well, at this point, pretty much Oda can pretty much throw everything in the kitchen sink at the wall, and I'm gonna love it. So just pretty much throwing the more former commanders, the Whitebeard pirates in there. I'm all for that shit. If that's what he's alluding to. Um, Now, as far as where allying with Big Mom fits into all this, however, I think what Marco was doing there is that was more of a ploy to get in order to get Big Mom and Kaido to fight each other and weaken Kaido, since the samurai arrived, he probably abandoned the idea, which is why he probably felt so confident saying, in basically approaching Big Mom, saying, well, I pretty much guess, I basically guess, I pretty much guess we've got different ideas with this alliance. So like, it was probably him saying, hey, I don't need you anymore. I've already got all I need. I've already got all I need in order to carry out my plan now. So yeah, I think that's probably what it was. It was him saying, bye. I don't. It was him saying to Big Mom, I don't need you anymore, kind of thing. Um, And speaking of the samurai, they pretty much just proved to Kaido in this chapter that things aren't the same as they were 20 years ago. And yet by the same token, they're still using the exact same techniques that Oden had taught them. And I do like how there is that parallel of how a lot of the same techniques that Oden used on Kaido 20 years ago are being used again, but this time to much greater effect as the Yakuza 9 are taking those lessons they learned from Oden and applying them to their own strength and abilities. Now, do I think that they're going to defeat Kaido? No. In fact, when chapters like this happen, I always kind of imagine, okay, this is probably the point where the villain is going to start turning the tables, and I think it's the same here. I think with Kaido being so far pushed up against the wall, I do imagine he will start turning the tables very soon on the samurai. However, again, going back to what I said, but by the time I think that the Yakuza 9 are defeated, I think the samurai, they as the samurai, will have successfully weakened Kaido enough to the point where when Luffy does face off against him, they'll basically be fighting. Both Kaido and Luffy will be fighting on a slightly more even strength level, or at best, there's probably going to be a lot more weak points in order for Luffy to take advantage of in the fight. I also like how during this entire exchange, even though Kaido is outwardly projecting confidence and calling their techniques cheap and pretty much cheap, cowardly, all that shit, he is genuinely afraid. In fact, I'd say this is like the closest that Kaido has ever come to feeling his own. Just based on this chapter, this feels like the first time that Kaido has ever come to feeling his own mortality. Because well, obviously it's been brought up many times before, but even though Kaido has been harmed and he has been defeated in a lot more than we think, at the same time, those weren't necessarily times in which he felt like he feared for his life. But this fight with the Yakuza 9 is kind of one of the first genuine moments I think in a fight where Kaido doesn't feel as invincible as he has in the past, and for the first time as well, he's actually kind of afraid, which in some ways is going to make him all the more dangerous going forward. Like, I think if anything else, with pretty much Kaido, with Kaido being so far pushed up against the wall and kind of in fearing as to whether or not he's going to be defeated, that's pretty much at the point where you definitely need to worry, that's at the point where you definitely need to worry because once pretty much Kaido is pushed up against the wall, I think that's where he becomes the most dangerous, and he ends up fighting back the most. But so yeah, it's a good way in the sense where it is exposing like Kaido. The fight is exposing a lot of Kaido's weaknesses right now, but it is also kind of it is going to make him more dangerous going forward, I think. Now, with that said, there is a panel I want to talk about, which is the panel of Yamato chasing after Shinobu and Momonosuke. And if I understand, again, the context correctly, it's, again, another moment where when it comes to Yamato, I get her role, and I more or less understand how her role is going to tie into the larger narrative of this arc so far. But right now, it generally feels like Oda is really just using Yamato as comedic padding at this point. Like we've like ever since we basically got that giant exposition dump about her and Oden's journal and whatnot, she really has kind of been used as nothing more than padding. And as I said before, it's one of those times where it's a running gag that's really running its course, and at this point, for me, Oda just really needs to do something with Yamato and Momo already. Like, again, I need to stress this. the whole situation, I it's one of those things where I don't hate Oda's comedic chops. I relatively do enjoy his comedic sensibilities when it comes to manga writing, but this is one time where it's a joke that's running really dry, and maybe he's gonna do something with it, but for right now it's like, Oda, just do something already. But at the same time, I but at the same time, yeah, guys, I'm glad that. But at the same time, that's all I got, guys. I'm glad One Piece is back. Actually, I failed to mention that. I'm really glad that One Piece is back. So, yeah, and if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and list your Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.